Up next, we had Cesaro versus Kofi Kingston in yet another frustrating segment.
You know, the reason why I didn't put this as a heat of the night, and I don't know if Ashton's going to agree with this, but this, I guess, was just kind of what I used to bring myself down. We talk about a lot, sometimes certain performers, them losing their way to things, and I'm slowly becoming convinced that Cesaro is losing his way to that Intercontinental Championship at Battleground. Not entirely convinced, mind you, but just an idea that popped in my head. He looked incredibly impressive here, as he always does. You know, catching Kingston in midair. He did his gut-wrench suplex right on the edge of the ring apron to the taped ribs of Kingston. That was a beautiful-looking spot. Watching Cesaro work in that ring, to me, is a work of art. I'm fully engaged. I don't take my eyes off. I appreciate every moment. Kingston gets the win again, which tells me, I must have missed it on my calendar, that this is the period of the year where Kofi Kingston gets a push and they want us all to believe that he's relevant. That's fine. Sucks that it comes at Cesaro's expense, but it's fine. After the match, he does try to continue the beatdown. Big E intervenes because, his Defense of America was a horrible failure because Rusev steamrolled him. So why don't you go after, a Swiss guy who's anything but neutral. He'll beat your ass if you get close to his territory. And yeah, they get the better of it. Paul Heyman restrains him. Again, that's fine. I think I'll only really have a gripe with this if he's doing all this losing, but he won't even have the Intercontinental Championship to show for it at Battleground. And again, I'm even tentative about that because Bo Dallas is a thing. So I don't even really know what to think anymore about this whole thing, Ashton.
Well, why don't you tell me? What do you think, John?
Well, my thoughts on thoughts are still unclear, but as far as this goes, I'm picking Cesaro to win the IC title, and I guess I'm fine with this booking. But if you're going to do this booking, and that's why I didn't like that Big E stepped in yet again, unless he's going to get planted maybe this Friday or next week, whatever. I loved when Cesaro just destroyed Kingston. And now I don't even know if Cesaro and Brock Lesnar are going to be on a collision, but if they are, if that is going to be teased, make Cesaro look like somebody that when Paul's watching the destruction, I even want Paul to be uncomfortable. Because I want him to be thinking in the back of his head, holy crap, thank God he's on our side. Because, that's what I want to go through his head. Now, if Cesaro was to do any kind of a break, which I know they won't, which makes this, again, fine. But if they were, after so recently losing to Kingston, Paul Heyman would probably laugh and be like, this isn't a problem. I won't even need to call Brock Lesnar. I could probably just get a new Paul Heyman guy to take care of business. So, I don't know. I love Cesaro. He's legitimate every time he steps in between the ropes. But I think he needs to start getting back on an upward trajectory, some kind of definitive direction, and I think that starts at Battleground. So,
if it wasn't for the leaked SummerSlam poster hinting towards the fact that we're going to get Cena Lesnar, I would think that this was the first step towards Cesaro and Heyman breaking up so that we can have Cesaro versus Lesnar.
Right, though, I completely agree with you because Heyman doesn't like a loser. In fact, one interesting thing, in the lead up to Money in the Bank when they had the championship ladder match, was Cole kept pressing Heyman, what's going to happen with your relationship if Cesaro doesn't come through on the goods, if you don't bring the championship home? And I guess nothing really happened with their relationship because I guess Cesaro just turned his aggression up. But Heyman doesn't stick with losers for very long. Or if he sees that his winning horse is kind of slowing down or, there's kind of a seismic shift that he wasn't aware of, he'll jump to the nearest ship. In this case of Cesaro, I think it's the former. I fully expect a betrayal coming. Not this soon. I'd say realistically, I could see them breaking up either at or before Survivor Series in November. But we'll see, because that's only a few months away.
Yeah, I mean, because that would give them, the WWE, a good month or two to build up Cesaro before he wins the Royal Rumble.
Right, and I do think he is a favor for that this year, but then again, I still think Roman Reigns may have it all locked up. That remains to be seen. But, yeah, it's just an interesting place that Cesaro is in, because I can't really say that I'm entirely frustrated, because I think, well, there's always some kind of payoff, but at the same time, it just doesn't feel like he has a clear direction, or maybe it's me. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, it really is. All right, so you want to talk about weird? Up next, Bo Dallas fought a midget bull.
Yeah, but the beautiful thing is that he did what an entire trio formerly known as 3MB could not do. He won. And that's...
And you know what, dude?
Yeah.
The really scary thing is, speaking of 3MB, Apparently, the WWE might be reforming 3MB with Heath Slater, Hornswoggle, and Titus O'Neil.
So back to the matchup, because my brain just exploded. I can't even touch that with a 29.5-foot pole.
A Grinch reference on Twit? Wow, really?
Hey, we've done everything else at this point. Why not? Why not? And you know what? If they do that formation, it doesn't even deserve my best effort. But yeah, Bo pretty much he beats Torito. I can't even really remember much about this match. I think Torito did get one kind of weird kick, which seemed below the belt, but of course it's going to be because if you look at Torito's height, so I guess they have to make some allowances for him. Bo recovered. What surprised me, Ashton, and maybe it's just me, I didn't expect him to actually be able to execute the running Bo dog. I guess I just couldn't visualize it, so I'll admit I was kind of impressed that they pulled that off.
Yeah.
And he got the pin, and I think this makes it 12 in Bo in singles competition. So,
I thought it was higher than that, but I could be wrong.
Either 12 or 13. I know it's not any higher than that. Somewhere between there. And he's doing his lap around, and my friend James already sent me a GIF because the internet just works ridiculously fast.
And Bo knocked El Torito over while he was doing the victory lap.
Yeah, Bo knocked him over. It was great. I think it speaks a lot about how WWE, I guess, views Torito as the new babyface Hornswoggle because they trusted him coming off as weak and getting beat down as a surefire way for Bo to get heat. But I still don't think people are reacting that negatively to Bo. In fact, how would you describe his reactions at this point in time, Ashton? I'll farm it out to you.
Well, I don't know if you saw it or not, but there was a sign in the crowd that said something like Bo's jiggly something rules. So apparently he's kind of polarizing in that some people really, really hate him and some people understand it and they kind of are in on the joke and they love him for it.
It's funny. It's funny that you use that word because we've often said this guy is a parody of John Cena, and that's
here it is.
Yeah.
There was a sign in the crowd: Bo's jiggly belly rules.
Oh wow. But yeah, it's so funny because we've said that he is a parody of John Cena, and the one word that's always attached to John Cena, by commentators, by anybody, is polarizing. So it's funny how that's all coming together. I don't know. I think give Bo a few more months, maybe the reactions will stabilize and take a clearer course. I still actually have my money on what you said. I could see this getting over. I could see people, maybe getting over their initial gripes and putting their thumbs up in the middle and, just Bo leaving. I could really see this catching on. I would hope for the opposite because we need more actual heels that are really booed by the audience, heels that don't want to be, or that audiences don't want to emulate when they leave.
Dude, the fact that we need those type of heels is the reason that I gave The Miz credit tonight.
And it's all the more painful because I would love for a guy like Bo Dallas to take that mantle because I think he has the goods, in the ring. But I can't argue with you, Ashton. When you make sense, you make sense. I may not like how the sense is made, and I know you don't either. But, you can't argue with the logic of it. Miz achieves all that criteria that we're looking for, at least in regards to you and I. Not many heels do that because, again, I like Bo Dallas. I freaking love Bray Wyatt. In fact, ask any audience, I don't even think Bray by textbook standards is even heel anymore. It's a crazy time. For as much positive as WWE has got going for it, I think the one glaring problem that they've had consistently, not just in this particular crop, this year, but really the last few years, is that I don't really feel like they've had that bona fide old school kind of, black and white heel. It's always that guy wanting to be cool or portraying something likable or things that would want to be emulated.
Which is exactly why I got so excited the night CM Punk turned heel on The Rock.
Right, because, The Rock is so beloved that for Punk to do that, it would be universal loathing, except, with the core groups, the internet saying, well, Punk has a point, part-timer, he's putting in all this time, this and that. But for the mainstream audiences that suspend their disbelief, that, are told the story through commentary, this, that, and the other, it was brilliant. and we need more people like that. I'm waiting for it, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
We got too many cool heels. That's a problem.
And you know what? Another really, really good heel run recently was, speaking of CM Punk, Chris Jericho's run against Punk in 12.
I told you, dude. And at the time, it was actually great to have a debate about it because you and I had a little discussion. I told you the night that he had the beer bottle segment with Punk that, to me, Jericho became the top heel in the company, and you didn't readily agree. I remember you said, well, I think Mark Henry, and I think you listed 2 or 3 other people, would take up issue with that. It was so nice to be able to have an actual debate about it because Mark Henry was another one. Dude, when Mark Henry was a heel, you want to know, guys, why we praise Mark Henry night in and night out, even though he's so injury-prone and everything else? Because that one period showed that if he was a healthy human being and if you could turn back the hands of time, nobody could have touched him. Nobody. He knew how to get it done. The guy was a freaking mammoth, and he knew it, and he used it to his advantage every single night. It was awesome.
Dude, like, I mean, even on Reddit, somebody at one point, like, I think it was last week, said, I never really understood why everybody loves Mark Henry so much. What's the deal? I just recently got back into wrestling and I must have missed something. And I said, dude, watch everything Mark Henry did starting at SummerSlam 2011.
Right. Because you know what? I was that guy for a long time. When Mark Henry got drafted to SmackDown and he had his heel turn, you want to know the first thing I did? I groaned. Because I thought, oh my God, we're going to do this again? We're going to try and push Mark Henry again? Are you kidding me? I expected it to flop. What became of it was the kind of heel, and this is the biggest compliment I could give Henry, that I think is the mold, or as they called John Cena tonight in a later segment, which we'll get to, the measuring stick for how all heels, at least in basic principle, should act.
Yep.
It was amazing. This was a guy that if he felt like a production crew member looked at him funny, he would literally toss him over the equipment. That's what we need. That's why, when Ryback turned, which I was vehemently against, I thought, well, you know what? Maybe it can work if maybe they have him be that silent killer. Maybe just go and maul everybody and get his championship. But never happened. I feel like Cena overcame it, and there went all the steam, and now he's a part of Ryback, which we enjoy, but they're not doing anything at all. It's so hard to get invested in a heel, and when you have to say in serious discourse, in serious conversation, that The Miz is the best heel in the WWE, and this isn't even anything against The Miz personally, I'm just saying, like, if he is the only one, and I would say the same thing if it was Cesaro being the only one, because there shouldn't just be one. There shouldn't. There should at least be 3 to 4 at best, I think, in a healthy product. It's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah, because like the idea of a heel isn't necessarily just to be a bad guy. It's
right.
To get people to want to see you get beat. And I mean, you could say Seth Rollins, but I don't think people are really cheering against him.
I'd say the only one that gives Miz a run for his money, for more people than maybe just outside you and me, even though Miz's reactions certainly aren't positive on a mainstream basis.
Del Rio, maybe?
I was going to say Rusev at this point in time.
Rusev, yeah, I would agree with that. Del Rio might be up there, but then again, people just don't really care about him that much. But the people that do care about him really, really don't like him.
What concerns me about Rusev and Lana as the mouthpiece, and again, I'm not trying to take anything away from them because I am enjoying them right now, but their heat, I feel like, is so one-dimensional because it all comes back to that anti-American.
It's shallow heat.
Yeah, it's shallow heat, where I feel like a really diversified heel, I'll call them, a really dimensional heel, knows how to get heat in certain ways, beating down a beloved figure, maybe cutting that promo. See, that's another thing. I hate to keep going back to this, but we invoked him, and I feel like he's the best example. Mark Henry, not only could he impose his physical dominance, I loved what he did on the mic. That night that he pretty much looked at Big Show, and he said, after last night, you just proved you're the world's largest loser. And, he gets knocked out in the crowd, pops for it. Or when he was talking down to Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan said, no, you listen to me. I have scratched, I have clawed, and I am taking your world title. And then he stepped on Mark Henry's injured ankle. Got a great pop from the crowd. So Mark knew like how to manipulate people, the fake retirement speech, dude.
Yep.
I talk about his mic work. How did I not even go to that first? Like, that's what I'm saying. Mark was diversified. He had dimension. What terrifies me with Rusev and Lana is that they're the one-trick ponies, and I'm amazed that the pony is still able to jump the fences so well with this anti-American rhetoric. But when is that going to run out, or when is the crowd just going to be apathetic? Because I guarantee you, when he starts losing, that's going to be the problem, is when he starts losing and he starts looking vulnerable, I think they're going to need to go to other wells than just talking bad against America.
Which is exactly what concerns me about the match that they advertised on SmackDown.
Which, yeah, perfect segue, dude, because we got announced, and I couldn't believe that they're blowing their load this early, Roman Reigns versus Rusev.
Yep.
What? You know, this better not have a definitive finish. I'm hoping Kane or Orton or somebody runs in, and to be honest, I do think that will happen. But the idea that you're even teasing this match now, are you crazy? I just feel like that is entirely rushed. I am completely against that.